Start your engines.
Well, welcome to the first volume of the 1994 Indycar World Series as defending champion. What can I say? There's been a lot of excitement already. It starts down under in Australia at Surface Paradise, and of course a very special visit down there, swimming with the dolphins again. You see a lot of things behind the scenes, and then we come back to America, of course, incorporating the Phoenix 1 mile super speedway race. A lot of people that day on race day escaped injury with some very serious incidents, and yeah, they were very lucky. And then, of course, straight to Long Beach, and of course, Phoenix were third, Long Beach were second. The next race that you will be seeing is the Milwaukee Mile, and that was a terrible day, wasn't it? I mean, we were out to lunch, the car wasn't working very well, and we managed to come home fifth. But the Penske's are setting the tone for this season, and what can I say? We go on to Detroit, but in Detroit, what happens? Bingo, we're back on a nice road course again, and we get pole position.
1993, the year that Nigel Mansell completed his brilliant storybook ride to superstardom. Formula One had been conquered, and the Indy Challenge began at Surface Paradise with a sensational first-time-out victory. By the end of the season, the Englishman abroad was not only Formula One world champion, but also the new Indycar title holder. Like 1993, this season began in Australia as well, but not before Nigel had snatched a few hours away from the raucous racetrack.
Well, good morning. Here we are with 6:30. We're at the harbour. I'd just like to see Steve in the background. I want you to see how organised Aussies really are. We've come here to this massive harbour, and he hasn't got a clue which boat we're going on. And he's actually trying to find the boat at this minute. You're a star, Steve. Just say hello to the British public. They'll be seeing you trying to find the boat.
Good morning, or afternoon, or evening. We won't do much fishing, but we'll have a lot of fun.
Do you know what day it is?
Yeah, Friday.
Is it? Okay.
Shouldn't you be practicing?
Just for your knowledge, it's actually Wednesday morning. And this is the fantastic crew we have behind us. But whether we actually get on the boat to go fishing is anyone's guess at this time. You found it! You found it!
Once on board and underway, everything seemed set fair for a great day, provided, of course, that the fish wanted to come out and play, and that can never be guaranteed. The first job, then, to find out exactly where they'd got to.
See if we go and catch a shark then as well. Well, we're on the spot of the reef. We're approximately about 17 miles out from Surface Paradise. Technology is absolutely brilliant. There's a fish finder, which we'll show you later, on this boat up there. We've just actually gone past a shoal of fish, which I'm told are at least this big. We shall find out, because the captain is just finding where the spot is again, and we'll be putting the rods out then. Well, what a glorious day. As you can see, we're working really hard today, preparing for the race this weekend.
The captain did locate the shoal, but for a while at least it seemed that the fishermen's tales would all have to be about the ones that got away.
Once you feel fish biting on it, you're going to have to try and hook them up.
But could there be a greater contrast to hurtling around racetracks at 200 miles an hour? Eventually, a bite. Roseanne shows the rest how to do it.
Well, that's worth having. Snapper? Yeah. Is she worth keeping?
Just turn around the camera.
It may not have been the most successful day as far as the catch was concerned, but the time spent in the sun and sea air could only be beneficial.
Oh, yeah. So I just jump in there, yeah?
swim near that marker boy if you like.
Yeah, I'll swim there, yeah? The boots came off.
A visit to Sea World gave Nigel the chance to renew acquaintance with a couple of pals he met for the first time last year. This is more than exercise, it's an experience.
I'll tell you what, I hope I've got that power coming out of some of the corners the weekend. Hey, that was great, wasn't it, Slim?
Just give him a kiss.
Oh, eyes up, yeah, do that, no eyes up, no, it's just beautiful. Bring it here to a glass eye, would you? Beautiful.
Oh, here we go, Slim. Hey!
And now double dolphin power, water skiing with a difference.
That woke me up. Well, you saw how the amateur did it, now we're going to watch how the professional does it. You watch this, a double flip back somersault with a dive in. We've got something even more special for you from Surfers Paradise here. We've got Ella McPherson. She's beautiful, she has her own calendar, some incredible shots, and she's very sexy too. Wow, and beautiful breath.
Inevitably, there's work to be done, though this is a side of the business Nigel really enjoys. The opportunity to meet some of his fans when he makes an appearance at the store of one of his main sponsors, Kmart.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Hi Nigel, pleased to meet you. When do we see India in England?
I'll tell you what, it should be next year.
Next year?
Any luck.
Look forward to it.
Hang on, I'll get up there with you.
Not touching that champion.
There you go.
Good on you.
The first day of practice at Surfers Paradise, and Nigel's consultant Sheridan Thin and Roseanne Mansell are in relaxed mood before the business of the day begins. Everything has to be set up to Nigel's satisfaction. The mirrors adjusted for spotting the opposition, hopefully somewhere well behind. The car is tailored for the driver. There's no space wasted, and that means the cockpit's a tight fit. Racing cars are built for speed, not comfort, and the driver has to suffer at times for his art.
We got the clean windscreen clean, or whatever you call it, please.
Soon the Newman Haas Lola is ready to run after the long journey over from the States.
Morning everybody over there, here we go again. 10 minutes before we start the first practice of the 1994 IndyCar World Championship, and yes, I guess the butterflies are going a little bit, but when we get out there after the first lap it will be great. So we've got beautiful weather. The only thing we've got is we've got winds gusting to 30-40 mile an hour down the straight, So down the one straight we'll have a headwind, and obviously down the other straight we'll have a good tailwind. It's going to be very interesting this morning. 31 cars out on the circuit altogether, and then the session is going to be split to 15 and 16 cars. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I'm reasonably happy at this time. Catch you later.
The clock ticked round to 11 o'clock. The team now anxious to see if all their hard work in winter testing would pay off. The first practice session gave Nigel a chance to familiarise himself again with a circuit on which he first tasted IndyCar victory a year ago.
After we're done running, this car's going to get put back behind the wall. You help them and flag them, but those guys will do oil try. Okay, just be careful going through here. Don't get a little late. A little late, huh? Okay, thank you.
These are always tense moments before the car runs for the first time, but especially so when it's the opening race of a new season. Jim McGee overseeing operations in the pit lane. First check stop to give the Newman Haas Lola the once over. And as you can tell from the stickers on the tyres, a change of wheels. Nigel off to set the pace around the 2.795 mile bumpy street circuit. Paul Tracy for Penske briefly set a new lap record, but moments later Nigel had posted a fantastic time, a shade over 97 seconds, incredibly 2.9 seconds quicker than Tracy. Further into the session, Nigel improved again, shaving 0.4 of a second off his best time, averaging more than 104 miles an hour. Robbie Gordon and Tracy came close, but couldn't match the champion's time, and Nigel Mansell pulled back into the pits after a highly satisfactory first practice session. Perhaps the most important part of any session, the debrief between driver and team. A close study of where precious fractions of seconds can be saved to maintain the advantage. These are the power units for the Newman Haas Lolas, the 750 brake horsepower Cosworth engines. At least 5 engines for every car are brought to each race. And they're not cheap, costing around $140,000 each without the extras, turbo, electronics and telemetry. They're not cheap to run either, using fuel at a phenomenal rate, an average of only 1.8 miles to the gallon. Here's the man who pays, Carl Haas, with his characteristic prop. Friday morning practice had proved the outstanding capabilities of Nigel, but now he had to reproduce that form in qualifying. Race engineer Peter Gibbons had an anxious wait for the first time to clock up. A mere 5 minutes into the session, and Nigel had broken the lap record yet again. By the end of first qualifying, Nigel had improved still more, up to an average of 105.16 miles an hour.
Well, I mean, we just finished the first official practice. There's still the other half of the cars to go out, so I'm optimistic. I've done a 35.66, which is virtually 3 seconds a lap quicker than last year. Pretty amazing, really. Our last test at Sebring showed us that we'd sort of improved, but I didn't think we'd improved that much. At this moment in time, reasonably happy, but as always, the hard work has just begun. There's another day tomorrow and then race day on Sunday. And of course Michael Andretti's come back, and the way he's been talking in the papers and everything else, he's going to be pushing real hard in this next session. So stay with me and watch the next session and see what he can do.
Michael Andretti was quick in the new Ganassi Reynard, but not as quick as Nigel, even when he took the shortcut. Michael's dad, Nigel's teammate Mario Andretti, blew an engine in final qualifying and had to be content with 19th. quick word with his old pal Barry Sheen, the former world motorcycling champion, and Nigel was underway again. On Saturday morning, Nigel had been fast, though not quite as quick as he'd managed in qualifying. On Saturday afternoon, he was in peerless form, powering round in 94.87 seconds. He looked absolutely unbeatable, the first lap ever at an average of more than 106 miles an hour around Surfers Paradise. The close season testing programme had enabled the team to make significant improvements to the car, developments that the driver capitalised upon with a will. A brilliant performance in qualifying, showing that Nigel had lost none of the zest for competition that's been his trademark for as long as he's been in the business. This was Nigel Mansell at his best. When the challenge is made, he just has to respond. With 8 minutes of qualifying remaining, Nigel pulled into the pits, satisfied with his record time. After a quick discussion, the team decided to call it a day and begin preparations for the race.
I really believe if someone else wants to go quicker than that, they're welcome to it, because I think it should hopefully hold up. You never know though, but it's a risk we're taking. There's only 8 minutes left. If someone can get up to that speed in 8 minutes and have done an unbelievable job.
It was a calculated gamble, but in those 8 minutes, nobody was capable of improving sufficiently to challenge Nigel Mansell for pole position. Not even the new Honda-engined Rahal Hogan, Bobby Rahal having to be content with a place on the 8th row of the grid. Nigel Mansell won 7 pole positions in 1993, the first at Surfers Paradise. Now he'd repeated the feat, picked up the first point of the season, and a cheque for $10,000.
Nigel, you've had a very nice few days holiday here on the Gold Coast, playing with the Dolphins and the golf and that kind of thing. How important is that for you to relax before a big race?
Very, very important indeed. It's just been tremendous down here, and I didn't think we could actually top what we did here last year, but we did. We ended up not only playing with the Dolphins, but as you know, the Sea Lion too, and they caught me a treat with that one. I honestly thought Ella McPherson was coming down for a photo call at SeaWorld for me, and needless to say, when they brought Ella McPherson seal, it was a good cop, wasn't it?
It was a great cop. Is there a lot of difference in pressure, do you feel? Last year you said yourself you were a bit of a wild card entry coming into this. This year you're the defending champion, the double world champion.
I'm just absolutely thrilled that we've done the homework we've done with the Newman Haas team over the winter, and Ford Cosworth have done a tremendous job, and you know, all the sponsors have made it work for us, and you know, we've come down here. It hasn't been easy, but I'm pleased to say yes, we're sitting on pole again, and we've got a tough race to do tomorrow though.
You took pole position again here, nearly 4 seconds faster than last year. That's quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a big step actually, and I think the thing is Lola Cars in England have done a fabulous job with their new car, and that's made a big contribution towards that time. Ford Cosworth has been working extremely hard over the winter, and I think the engine with the response has helped towards that time also. And not forgetting the other contribution here too is that they haven't altered the length of the circuit here, but what they've done is taken some inside walls away, so you can see the apex of the corner, and more important, you can see the exit of the corner. So it gives the driver a little bit more confidence to go charging into the corner a little bit quicker, and have a good power slide coming out, and I think that's probably upwards of a second a lap too.
On race morning, the 27 qualified drivers leave the briefing room prior to the 4th Australian Indycar Grand Prix at Surfers Paradise. The men on the front row, Michael Andretti and Nigel Mansell, are still in discussion. On parade before the off, IndyCar's the motor race series where the fans normally see their heroes. In the cockpit, and all alone now, waiting for the action. The talking has stopped. It's time to go. Nigel and Michael Andretti lead the field out onto the circuit behind the pace cars. But before the green flag flies, it becomes obvious that the weather's turned nasty, parts of the circuit are wet, and sand and gravel has been blown onto the backstretch. Wally Dallenbach, chief steward, declared a wet start and ordered the cars into the pits to change to wet tyres. And Nigel's car required attention after a bump on the parade lap. Nigel stretching his legs and calling in for a chat with Emo.
Well, this is obviously quite unique and a little bit frustrating, but they made the decision to come into the pits probably correctly for the right reasons. The wind was blowing so hard on the beach that there was a small sand dune which was being gusted across the back straight, and you couldn't actually see it. It was like a windstorm. And needless to say, then it rained pretty heavy. The trouble is with this formula, you need to top all the fuel up, and then the officials were getting the sweepers out there to try and clean the track up, and of course since they've done that the conditions have changed again. So the decision now is that we start the race regardless whether it's wet or dry on wets to get the show on the road, and then it's up to the teams and drivers to decide when to come in to change the tyres if that's what they want to do.
Then a logjam at the rear of the field. Mansell, Zampedri, Ribbs, Dobson and Buell all stopped. And the bad weather returns with a vengeance. There's a short but frank exchange of views between the front row men. With tanks topped up, all ready again for the third time of asking.
Green is out and we are finally underway. And Mansell does jump to the start as Michael Andretti falls in behind him, and the rest of the field comes through the first chicane. Let's see if there were any incidents here.
Like Scott Goodyear may have got hooked up just a little bit as he had the inside line on that apex with a crowd of cars coming down on him. Fernandez already being held out. Oh yes, we do. And guess what? We have the same cars as before.
Another block. Zampedri, Dobson involved again, Lyondike, Jones, Matsushita all caught up in trouble. Tracy, Unser and Rahal, three possible front runners, all suffered from accident damage, and a full course yellow lasted for 17 minutes. Michael Andretti pulls out of the pits ahead of Nigel Mansell, and Fittipaldi squeezes between them for second. But then another yellow as Bobby Rahal's race is over. Nigel Mansell third, but under pressure from Robbie Gordon. Gordon takes third place. The race order: Michael Andretti in the new Reynard, Emerson Fittipaldi second for Penske. Gordon now third, Mansell fourth.
Nigel comes right alongside him and tries to make the move. Boy, they're running wheel to wheel down through here. Let's see who breaks first. Mansell succeeds in making the pass. Now Mansell begins to put a serious challenge on Emo, and he's going to get him under braking again. A nice move by Nigel Mansell, and he goes to second.
Robbie Gordon's race came to an end. He careered into the wall and emerged unscathed from the burning wreck. Lap 30. Nigel Mansell into a big spin. He managed to prevent serious damage, but the engine stalled and he was stranded and dangerously exposed for a while. Michael Andretti had a big moment as well.
Tell them we need a push, come on!
Nigel underway again, but running in 13th place. Andretti leading, Fittipaldi second, Mario Andretti third. Nigel fighting his way through the field in an attempt to pick up as many points as possible. Michael Andretti's return to IndyCar racing proving successful, still ahead as the race entered its final phase. The streetlights were on as Andretti headed for the finish line. He scored only 7 points all last year in Formula One. Here he picked up 20 for his 28th IndyCar victory, plus another point for most laps led.
Nigel, it's almost dusk. It's more like Le Mans than an IndyCar race. What a topsy-turvy day.
It's a shame, you know, because it deserved such a great race, and with the weather conditions as they were, it just turned into a bit of a lottery, and who lucked in and who lucked out, and I just lost it coming out of the corner. I wasn't even going fast, and I was obviously on the wrong bit of track. But, you know, we finished, we got 5 points. There's another 15 races to go. Anything can happen, but what a crazy race.
So 2 Andretti's in the top 3. Happy returns for Michael. Useful points for Nigel Mansell for 9th. Not ideal, but some reward for a crazy race. Before the second event of the new season, there wasn't much that Nigel Mansell didn't know about Phoenix International Raceway, even though he'd never actually raced on the circuit. It was here in testing prior to the start of the 1993 season that he sampled an oval for the first time. His vastly experienced teammate Mario Andretti was impressed with the way the rookie had handled the transition from Formula One. But the chilling warning from the former champion Rick Mears about oval driving echoed around the IndyCar series. He said there are 2 kinds of drivers, those who've hit the wall and those who are going to. At Phoenix on the 3rd of April last year, Nigel Mansell's moment came at over 180 miles an hour.
Obviously last year you have some mixed memories about the race.
Oh boy, I still got mixed memories about Phoenix. I haven't raced there yet. The main thing is to go there and do the best job we can qualifying, and then get in the race and be reliable and finish the race, and, you know, walk away from there, because it's the fastest mile oval in the world. I mean, qualifying will be, you know, sub 20 second probably, a 20-second lap, and that is very, very quick.
Is there something about the circuit that is very unyielding, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's just nowhere to go. I mean, if something goes wrong, you hit that wall, and you hit that wall. The slowest speed is going to be 170, and if you go into it and something happens as you're going in at 200 miles an hour. And I mean, there's nowhere to go.
Nigel's return to the scene of his massive accident last season held no terrors for him. Champion remarkably relaxed as he chatted with fans and signed autographs prior to practice and qualifying on the testing Phoenix Oval. As usual, Nigel was in demand by the fans, and he was happy to oblige. The champion always aware of his responsibilities as a sporting ambassador. Patience very definitely a virtue at times like this, waiting for the car to be readied before going out for the first practice session at Phoenix. A complete contrast, of course, with the track at the opening race of the season, Surfers Paradise, Phoenix, a tight, demanding 1 mile oval where the leading car will circulate 200 times at an average of over 175 miles an hour. Down in pit road, Chief Engineer Peter Gibbons and his men were pleased with the progress so far. Nigel broke the lap record in first practice, close on an average of 174 miles an hour. If the car had been perfect throughout, he might have been quickest of all. But there was trouble with the pop-off valve that limits the boost pressure from the turbo and, in theory, standardises power potential. It's a tough job working in the cockpit of a 200-mile-an-hour car in the heat and dust of the Arizona desert, and Nigel showed the pain suffered for the sake of a decent performance when he extricated himself from the car at the end of the session.
The cars that are running this week on the 1 mile oval here at Phoenix substantially different from the cars which ran at Surfers Paradise. That, of course, is a street circuit. You need to go left and right. Here you only turn left, and you turn left very fast, over 180 miles an hour going into turns 3 and 4. So what do? You put a lot more safety into the car. You dial in understeer, makes the car come to the left naturally. So if you lose it in a corner, you go into the infield rather than hitting the wall. You achieve that by putting more caster into the suspension. You change the mechanical setup of the car, and you use a smaller left rear tyre as well. Helps to make the car understeer through the corners. Oversteer here is absolutely fatal. The aerodynamic package is different also because you're running at such high speeds through the corners, so you have a much flatter wing than you would have on a street circuit where you need a lot more downforce. The other big safety feature they have on this car is the steering. They slow down the steering gear so that if the car starts to break away from the driver, his reactions don't go straight through to the car and put him into the wall. A very important measure when you're running at over 180 miles an hour.
It's just 12 months on since Nigel made much closer acquaintance with the unforgiving Phoenix wall than he or any of his fans wanted. Throughout his return to the circuit, Nigel had not been fazed by the prospect of competing again at a track where he'd suffered such an appalling experience. Now he had to concentrate on his immediate objective, gaining the best possible qualifying position for the race. Up in the grandstands, a groundswell of support from his long-distance followers. While down in the pits, team manager Jim McGee unemotionally checked Nigel's lap times against the rest of the field.
We got too much of them there. That's all right, we're real close. 20.51 and the pole is 20.42, so we're right there.
Mechanics in the garage busily removing the special qualifying engine and bolting in the race engine, fixing the gearbox, all ready for the race warm-up. Drivers face the limelight and enjoy the glamour and take the criticism. But the unsung band of mechanics work the unsocial hours, often in inclement conditions. The car now in race trim. Nigel ready for the pre-race warm-up. The front wings during qualifying had caused some concern. Now was the time to see if the necessary adjustments had made much of a difference. Out on the short 1 mile circuit, Nigel and Emerson Fittipaldi ran close together on the track. Then, going into turn 4, the Newman-Haas Lola went suddenly out of shape, spinning offline and colliding with Jacques Villeneuve. For a moment, memories of last year came flooding back. But fortunately, this wasn't half as serious. A lucky escape, but the body language says everything. Nigel unconcerned about his own safety, just that the car, when it seemed to be running so well, had been damaged with no chance of a full repair before the race. So now the mechanics had to prepare the spare car. Nigel faced the trek to the medical centre for the statutory checkup after an accident. All part of motor racing's rich pageant. Nothing to be except philosophical. Carl Haas knew that this car wouldn't turn a wheel again at Phoenix.
That was interesting, wasn't it? The warm-up for the race, and the car, for whatever reason, in turn 3 just swapped ends. A little bit confused because we weren't going that quick, we'd backed out of it, but that's what happens in oval racing. And then poor Jacques Villeneuve was behind me, so he was going very quickly and then collected me. So it's a shame for him because it wasn't his accident. But that's what you get on oval racing. When the car all of a sudden swaps ends on you, you end up in the wall. But thankfully we're okay, and we'll be using our backup car tomorrow.
Jim, just tell us about the damage that sustained to the car.
Well, the car is not damaged severely. I mean, we don't have any tub damage. We got a little body work, some suspension, but we were able to go out in the backup car with about 4 minutes left in the last practice session, and Nigel got a feel for that car, and he's pretty happy with that. So that'll be the car that we're going to start the race with. We're pretty fortunate now that the rules have changed over the last 3 or 4 years, because previous to that, you would have had to start in the back of the field, but the rules have changed so that if you have a backup car that's a car that has been run, you're able to put it in the position that the original car qualified in. So we'll be able to start in 3rd place tomorrow.
Paul Tracy's Penske on pole position, with Jacques Villeneuve on his 23rd birthday in the Forsyth Green Reynard also on the front row. Nigel started from row 2.
They look for the green flag. Jim Swintal has it. And we'll see if he gives it to the field as they come down. They look nicely aligned here. 200 miles lie ahead as the green comes out. Paul Tracy sweeps across the front. Nigel Mansell comes up into the 2nd row. Nigel moves into 2nd place, 3 wide as they come off of the corner.
And you can see that Villeneuve, the lack of experience, he backed right off, but Mansell was one of those who got a superb start.
As Tracy flashes across the line, this is the first time since 1988 that the pole sitter has actually led the first lap. So it's Tracy, followed by Nigel Mansell, and then Villeneuve, and then the 2nd Penske car of Emerson Fittipaldi. Al Unser Jr. is working his way up through the field, so is Robbie Gordon.
Tracy last year was in total control of this race, and he threw it all away trying to lap back markers. He has matured, he tells us, because it is so easy to make mistakes here because the speeds are so high. He'll be in traffic before too long.
Remember the accident in final practice yesterday. The video originally looked very much like this as Villeneuve began to challenge Mansell. Now it's a fight for 2nd place on the race course. Medal for 5th place as Robbie Gordon now closes on Mario Andretti. Mario, the Texaco car there. He has a red roll bar. Look at this. Nigel Mansell comes up and very quickly overhauls Paul Tracy. He has now won every race computed on a 1-mile track. Let's see if he can do it with this win here today. And a car up against the wall. We've got our first yellow on lap 27.
In pit, Nigel. In pit, pit. Coming in, coming in. Reset the meter. Get ready, get ready. Put back. How much have we lost doing that? Not much, not much. We're all right.
The delay in the pits lost Nigel about 17 seconds overall. And even with the cars on the track still under yellow, it meant he was a lap down on the leaders.
So at the top of the field, Paul Tracy, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi. Al Unser Jr., the yellow has come out. We've got a car against the wall, and it looks to be...
It's a Penske.
Oh, no! Oh, my goodness, how did that happen? The yellow had been out for some time.
Jacques Villeneuve got high, coming through 3, up into the grey, and absolutely rammed into one of those stationary cars.
A lot of work to do up on the track to get all of the debris and cars away. Let's take a look at this accident again. Let's just listen. And if you can believe it, despite all that and this kind of damage, we don't have any one of these names seriously injured, if injured at all. But for the second year in a row, Paul Tracy goes out while leading the race.
Here you see the anatomy of a crash in IndyCar racing. The horror of it all reflected in the reactions of the spectators at the trackside who had a close-up view. Amazingly and fortunately, no one was seriously injured. But the field was depleted. The green ready again.
Green flag is out. Mario, the leader of the serial. Fittipaldi, the leader of the race.
Look at Goodyear goes high, not able to maintain the charge, not able to hold off Emerson. Now the charge and the attack on Mario. There's Mansell.
Mansell trying to tuck in, find position so that he can get around and get that lap back. He's going to be racing very hard. If we've had 2 yellows thus far, which by the way is the lowest number of yellows ever at this track, then one can certainly anticipate another possibility. Look at up there as Mario skates a little bit coming off of the second corner. Great coverage. And a great race. Nigel Mansell still trying to catch up. Once again, all of the drivers in that multi-car accident earlier have been pronounced not totally fit, really only minor injuries. And that only really to Hero. So we wish him well. Possible mild shoulder separation. Look at the debris, the mess. Winds are really blowing here and blowing debris onto the racetrack. Moselle high, look at Mansell. Mansell comes low, trying to unlap himself. Plenty of traffic there. Davy Jones to the inside. Jimmy Vasser sits to the high side, and Mansell is back on the lead lap.
Brilliant move, a brilliant move pulled off by Mansell, and he did it by lining up correctly and anticipating the slow traffic on the way into turn 1.
Nothing like a 3-rail billiard shot to get through traffic. Nigel Mansell, you look backwards. By the way, what you're seeing is Emerson Fittipaldi. That over in the right-hand corner is just a little vent hose that just kind of bounces there. It's not a loose part. In the pits, let's go to Jan Beekes as Nigel Mansell turns down onto pit road. Jan?
That's right, Paul. We're standing by waiting for Nigel Mansell. Tom Wirtz is waving his arms, showing Nigel where to bring the car to a stop. We were right. He was having to save a little bit of fuel so he could make this window. He's just inside the window to where this will be Nigel Mansell's final stop. They've got the front tires off. So far, they're not expecting any changes, but we'll keep an eye up on the front. Yes, Tom Wirtz is going just very slight wing change, only a quarter of a turn. Waiting for the last bit of fuel. Nigel's on the ground. Oh, boy, he doesn't kill it this time. 14.7.
Yeah, there wasn't any question. He wasn't going to get that engine stalled again. Let both of the tires and out he went.
Oh, he's off the road. He's off the road. He's on the grass.
Oh, my goodness. That's a hard stopper.
He put himself behind the 8 ball on that first pit stop when he stalled it. Now he almost does the exact opposite with way too much enthusiasm, i.e. wheel spin, and he was lucky he didn't get collected when he got out onto the racing line.
That's a cold tire issue, though, right? He had a fairly good turning moment going there and couldn't get it done. Let's take a look.
It was a cold tire. Unfortunately, it was only the fronts that were cold because they're fried now, those rears.
The rears are now fully up to temperature. The fronts are not. And now watch.
Now he turns in.
And
Look
it
at
won't.
He's already out of grip.
He turns, it doesn't.
Boy, he has enough presence of mind to back out of the power to keep that car straight.
What?
And as he flies out into the racing line, look, it's Scott Goodyear comes down the inside and waves his fist at Mansell.
Here's the running order with the interval. What you might notice there, Michael minus 3 laps. So that little show of power wasn't even to try to stay on a leader lap or anything. He's 3 laps behind the race. The rest of this field is strung out well behind, and Andretti is in trouble. And we've got more trouble again. Debris on the track, and it's caused some other problems. So the yellow flag is out 3rd time of the day at the 166th lap. Tire went up and over the debris fence. Mario loses it. Back wing comes off. Plenty of debris out there. Traffic closing.
It is still difficult to see why Mario spun and hit the wall backwards with that left side. But then the incident happens behind him with Scott Goodyear and Michael.
Boy, as soon as Michael's right front touched Goodyear's left rear, right up in the air. Look at the tire as it goes over the top.
Again, fortunately, no one seriously hurt. The race now into its closing stages.
And the second fastest man on the racetrack at the moment is Nigel Mansell. You see him on the outside there, round the outside of Davy Jones, I believe. However, he's trying to get by the leader. That will only put him on the same lap. So Mansell is in an uphill battle and a struggle right now.
Emerson Fittipaldi on the final lap of the run. Al Unser Jr., no chance whatsoever. I'm sure were we able to talk to him, he would tell you that his Marlboro Penske was incredible and the Elmore engine worked great. It's the job that it's doing now and has done all day. As Emerson Fittipaldi screams for the checker, Nigel Mansell moves to the inside, but he's still a lap behind the lead, and Al Unser Jr. will come across the line in 2nd place.
Nigel Mansell 3rd, having at one stage been as far down the field as 12th. A great recovery, and he's now 18 points off the lead in the championship. Anyone who's followed motor racing over the years will be aware of the massive contribution made to the sport by Cosworth Engineering.
1,000 horsepower.
Their success in Indycar racing in particular is legendary, culminating in last year's championship triumph for Nigel Mansell. His Newman-Haas Lola was powered by the Ford Cosworth XB, a race winner after only 1 full year of development. Nigel took the opportunity before the Long Beach race in California to visit Cosworth's new state-of-the-art facility at Torrance, near Los Angeles. The driver requires more than sheer power from the engine. He also wants durability and reliability. To ensure constant improvement, the engine men need good technical feedback from the driver. This is a most important relationship. Nigel enjoying business in a social setting. A year ago, Nigel finished 3rd at Long Beach, a terrific performance on his comeback following his Phoenix crash, and especially considering he still needed a major operation on his injured back. At Long Beach 1994, Nigel needed a good result yet again, this time in the battle to defend his IndyCar title. Confirmed by Roseanne's stopwatch, a claim for pole position.
Well, we're on provisional pole at the moment. The second half of the session is running now. So it's only provisional for another 25 minutes, and then hopefully it will be the provisional pole for Friday. Just unbelievable how quick the Penske's are running. Both Emerson and Little Al are doing too good a job here. There's hardly a hair's breadth between Emerson and myself. So really we've just got to wait and see what happens tomorrow.
Nigel's predictions about the Penske's were ominously correct. Paul Tracy took pole position, Alan Sir Jr. was on the front row, Emerson Fittipaldi third alongside Nigel Mansell. But Nigel's confidence and optimism was shared by Paul Newman.
Nigel Mansell, number 1.
Cars maintain their position, but they come 3 abreast. Everybody's through the first 2 corners safely.
Well, that had to be one of the worst starts I think I've ever seen Indycar racing. Flagman should have brought them around another time. They weren't lined up at all.
Looks like only the Penske cars were aligned. It's now Tracy Allenser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi. Nigel Mansell pursues from 4th place.
In qualifying, the 3 Penske cars qualified within a 1/10 of a second of each other. That explains why they're running so close right now.
Paul Tracy still running at the front of the field. Will he lead the first lap? Will he win another race here? He scored his first IndyCar victory at this track. Paul Tracy, the number 3 Penske car. Allenser Jr., the 31 car with a black rollover bar. And of course, there is Fittipaldi, the number 2 car, black number 2.
Penske scored his first win ever here last year as a team, having been shut out through all the Andretti and Unser years. Now he's come back with a vengeance with a car that is really handling beautifully here.
You know, Sam McCall, one thing safe to assume, and that Penske has told his drivers, go direct with each other. Race, but save the really hard racing till right to the end of the race.
This is the fight for 4th place as Robbie Gordon is closing on Nigel Mansell.
The interesting thing is to see Mansell, who had the pole here last year, of course, in eclipse this year. 4th fastest, only in qualifying, not a threat at least at this point in the race.
Mario Andretti closing on this battle as well. He is car number 6, just behind Robbie Gordon.
You know, Robbie Gordon has really set his sights on emulating Nigel Mansell. As Gordon matured in racing, it was Mansell who was achieving everything last year. So this means a lot for him to have Mansell in his sights right now.
Take a look as they get down toward the first corner at the back of Paul Tracy's car here, the fin, the shark fin. They first came out with that a week ago at Phoenix, and it's part of development that leads to an announcement this week that they made that they're going to be racing at Indianapolis with the Mercedes engine, a pushrod production-based engine.
Paul, this is really an earth-shattering announcement made jointly by Penske Racing and Mercedes-Benz. They're not going to race with a Mercedes next year at Indy. They're going to race this year. It's probably the best-kept secret in racing in the last 10 or 15 years, I would say. What it means, they're going to take advantage of what you might call a loophole or an incentive clause in the Indy rules, run a stock block engine, which rumors already have posted, they think, as much as 1,000 horsepower. They should have tremendous, at least a speed advantage. Reliability will of course, be a question, but it's major racing news. Penske and Mercedes getting together.
And there is a problem, as you can see. Down in the first corner, 2 cars together, 1 Paul Tracy with Mike Groff. Here's what happened. Chasing into the corner as Tracy was working through traffic. Got caught up behind the 19 car, Bobby.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Paul was committed to go the inside, as you can see right there. The 19 car Robbie Buell is braking too fast. Paul had more rear brakes than the front brakes. He locked it up and spun it. He just was pressing too hard into the corner, in my opinion.
Davy Jones is in trouble along with Mark Smith. Jones is going to try to get it going again, but remember, those walls are right there.
You know, the big secret to spinning out here, which does happen occasionally, is not to kill your engine. Davey didn't kill his, but it looks like now that he has. In other words, kept his engine running. Here's a replay of it coming down.
All right, the two cars were battling for 19th place. Jones just got into the side of Mark Smith as they came in the corner. Nigel ducked by on the inside.
Nigel Mansell, of course, has moved into third now as we ride with him.
Here's what happened. Boy, look at Nigel. He almost totally lost it. Lock to lock. Whoa!
That was close. But look at the reflexes by Nigel Mansell. I mean, he really owes the fact that he's still in the race to the fact that he saw what was coming and had those incredible reflexes along with good judgment.
The right-hander at turn 7 was catching numerous drivers out. On lap 38, Jacques Villeneuve was next to pay for a misjudgment when he slammed into the tyre barriers. He was lucky to keep going despite an advertising banner wrapped around a wheel. But he was unlikely to feature among the leaders as he'd also deranged the rear wing. Nigel Mansell pitted. 4 new tyres and a fuel top-up. The Penske's of Paul Tracy, Emerson Fittipaldi and Alan Sir Jr. had all held the lead. Fittipaldi was seeming to run strongest of all. Nigel resumed a relentless chase. As he went out, Alan Sir Jr. came in. It was a stop-and-go penalty, and it handed first place to Emerson Fittipaldi.
Smooth run for Emerson Fittipaldi now. He runs in the lead of the race. Jack Arute, you have an update. Emerson slows. All of a sudden, Emerson slows. Jack Arute's been watching from pit side. Emerson raises his hand, indicating that he is slowing. And this looks like a serious problem. Here is Little Al taking the lead. Al comes past, picks up the lead of the race. Let's go pit side. Jack Arute, do you have any idea what's going on?
Well, Paul, we're getting conflicting reports. You know, one of the things that happened with Team Penske this year is they have scrambled their radios, so you can't eavesdrop. The team is a little concerned. At first they thought it might be a gearbox problem, but now the secondary thought is it may be an electrical problem. He's limping his way back to the pits where the crew will take a look at it, and we'll give you a report then.
Eventually, the Penske number 2 came into the pits for attention, and it was diagnosed as gearbox trouble. 2 laps later, Fittipaldi gave up the unequal struggle, but Nigel Mansell hit trouble. His right rear tyre punctured at over 190 miles an hour, and he had to limp all the way back to the pits. Excellent pit work by the crew limited time damage to a minimum. After the stops, the race order. Alan Sir Jr. first, Nigel Mansell running hard in second, Robbie Gordon third. Just 3 cars still on the lead lap as the race boiled up towards a climax.
Alan Sir Jr. about to reassert himself as the king of the beach as he takes the Penske car across the line and picks up the twin checkered flags. Alan Sir Jr. is the winner in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Chasing toward the flag now, Nigel Mansell, as the celebration begins with the Penske team. I know a special moment for mechanic Richard Buck, who spent a lot of time with Little Al in the sprint car days. So a victory once again for that team. Here comes Nigel Mansell, the final 3 corners of the course. Little Al already saluting the crowd and beginning to slow. Is that a happy kid or what?
He's happy today.
Nigel Mansell through the hairpin for the very last time. His teammate Mario Andretti will be coming to the line too for the last time here. And here is Nigel Mansell, comes toward the flag and picks up second place.
Great job, Nigel. Great job. That puts us P3 in the championship, only 2 points behind Emerson. 2 points behind the leader. Okay, great job, team. Thanks, everybody. Jim, Peter, you did a great job with the car this weekend, my friend. What we got was what we got. We milked it to the full. Thank you very much, everybody.
Nigel's best result of the season so far, and an improvement on his third-place finish at Long Beach a year ago. He was back in the championship race with a vengeance, and no concealing the sheer delight of the rest of the team. This was a real confidence boost.
Hey, we hung in there. Only 2 points back. Only 2 points back. Hell of a job. Only 2 points back. Great job. Great job hanging in there. Only 2 points back. Watch out for Carl here. Carl right here. Watch for Carl. Come on in there.
Great job. Yeah, I mean, wasn't that eventful? A great win for Al here, and you know, I mean, what can I say? I almost got caught up in an accident over the back there. Then I had a blowout at 190 miles an hour, and I mean, I tell you, my heart was in my mouth then whether I was going to control it. I braked halfway down the straight and only just stopped in time for the hairpin, and then I had to creep my way back to the pits. The Newman Haas team worked beautifully. The boys, the mechanics. I tell you, I feel as though I've won the race and I've only come second, so I'm happy.
It's nice and tight at the top with the points as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's only 2 points between you know, 3 of us, and you know, I mean, that's what the championship should be about. But you know, the Penskes look strong, don't they? We've got to work, but we've got about a month now to work on the car and the engines, and maybe Indianapolis will be a different thing.
He's chasing Nigel all over the place. They're coming around. Nigel got straight. Nigel goes around the backboard, around the front, turns around. Robbie! Tapped Gordon on the shoulder and said, hey, you got him again. Came around the backside. Nigel, I think we've got to be the champion of this shootout here. Incredible. I know, Al. It hurts in the eyes. It really does. It's almost as bad as the sunblock, but hey, it was worth it for the win, wasn't it?
So Nigel Mansell within 2 points of the Penskes. But things changed after the Indy 500.
Nigel, take us through your month at Indianapolis.
Oh boy, I'd rather not. It was quite an exciting time, wasn't it, until the point where we got put out the race. A lot of hard work, a lot of preparation. As you know, we're there for 3 solid weeks pretty well, and you know, then qualifying took over 2 days because of the weather conditions. The race was a great race until we got some decisions taken whereby, shall we just say, we totally disagree with them. The black flag was arguably one of the worst. You have to look at the bigger picture, and if I hadn't got the black flag, and we were told that 37 minutes after we were penalised, so we couldn't even have the opportunity to put it right. Normally, as you know, in these other 15 races, if you infringe a yellow by overtaking somebody, and they probably played it back to you on television, you have the opportunity of an official coming to tell your team manager, and then all you do is just let one car pass you, and then the infringement has gone away. But Indianapolis is totally different. It was a judgment call, which was a bad judgment call anyway on their part, and they decided to inform the team 37 minutes later, and then make us pit on the green flag, which put us a lap down. But that didn't hold us back, did it? We chased back. We got back up to 3rd place. It was fantastic. And then, you know, I must say that I'm totally disillusioned, disappointed, whereby you're under another yellow flag for a lap and 3/4. I was behind a pace car going slowly, and then I was put out the race by a missile. The trouble was it was a flying missile engine first and just wiped us out, and we were very, very lucky.
When the dust had settled after all the incidents at Indianapolis, Al Unser Jr., who won there, was 20 points ahead in the championship race, with Nigel 4th.
We're now into what you call the meat of the season. You're sitting quite nicely in the points table, even though you've had perhaps what you wouldn't consider to be your best start.
It's been a tough year with one thing and another. We sort of haven't had anything go our way yet. The nice thing is there's a lot of races left, and we know in motor racing when you've been in it long enough, what goes around comes around, and we're going through a hard part of the year, and I feel that you know, we'll have our fortune turn around, perhaps even today, maybe in this race.
Well, here at Milwaukee, you're starting 9th today. Of course, this is your first oval win. Are you in a good position to repeat, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, the problem we have limited tyres we can run on. They've taken a lot of downforce off the cars for the mile ovals, which make the cars a lot more handful. And therefore, we basically saved our tyres for the race. It's the race that counts. We didn't set the car up for qualifying as well as perhaps we should have done, because we're paying too much attention to, you know, having the car set up and balanced on full tanks. But qualifying, you get 1 point if you're on pole, and the race you get 21 points if you win. So, you know, I think our judgment should be good, and we'll see how good a judgment it is this afternoon.
Just a week after 500 round Indy, 200 round Milwaukee.
They begin to close to their more traditional lineup and tuck right in as close as they can. It's almost as if Robbie Gordon is beginning to telegraph a move to the inside. We'll keep an eye on him. The first 4 rows well aligned as Raul Boisel paces him off the corner, picks up the pace. And here we go. Paul Tracy sweeping down toward the outside, trying to get around Raul Boisel. They come off the corner side by side. Tracy forges ahead.
Well, that's one of the best contests between a Ford and Chevy engine or an Elmore engine I ever saw, Paul.
Michael Andretti trying to make a move up through the field now. We'll stay on board with him for a second as Tracy takes over the lead from Raul Boisel. Gordon is third. Villeneuve is fourth.
Tracy had trouble all through the warm-up, couldn't put 2 laps together. Suddenly the Penske team seems to have gotten his car right.
A lot of struggling during this morning's warm-up session, which also, by the way, caused some damage to Dominic Dobson's car and to Adrian Fernandez's car. They both got into the wall, but both were repaired in time to start. Michael Andretti on the start there was able to jump from 12th up to 5th. We're back on board with Michael.
Now, to a lot of these drivers, Paul, Milwaukee is the place that they like the most. For the small tracks, the short track, this is the place. And this is one of the guys right here, Michael Andretti. He just loves the place.
That right rear tire turning about 2,000 RPM right now.
On the home stretch now, in front of the grandstand with the largest crowd I've ever seen here at the Milwaukee Mile. Spectacular crowd here today. Paul Tracy runs alone in the lead. You're on board, Robbie Gordon.
Watch how wide a line Robbie Gordon takes through the turn. Whoa!
Little Al drops to the inside of Robbie, and just that quickly he has passed. The Penske car is very definitely on the move.
Tracy had dropped to third behind his teammates, Unser leading from Fittipaldi. These 2 cars having been set up well, handling being the crucial factor around the Milwaukee Mile. Nigel Mansell was making steady progress, up from 9th. On-screen telemetry data displayed relating to the Walker Racing Lola.
What's nice about this telemetry is you can see where the driver gets at full throttle. The 100% throttle over there shows you what he's doing in the turn, Paul, and what he does coming off. He's coming off like number 2 now, down the straightaway, and walk full open throttle all the way down. Look at the RPM up to about 12,800 there.
So Robbie Gordon, as he works his way around, Michael Andretti was able to pull up on Raul Boisel and move past as well. Jack Arute, you have an update for us on Robbie?
Well, Paul, looks as if Robbie may get just a little more racy in the Valvoline car. He had a severe understeer problem. The car was pushing badly, but it seems as if the track is coming to him. Derek Walker said he radioed in and said, thus far, it's getting better every lap.
You ride back now with Nigel Mansell as we keep an eye on Michael Andretti and Raul Boisel line just ahead. There is Nigel as he tries to get around Michael. Whoa, he's going to take him close to the wall with that one.
Well, that was a close one there. Michael didn't see him for a while, kept moving out. You can see Nigel was getting a little nervous.
Considerable rivalry between Nigel Mansell and Michael Andretti, of course, stemming from their incident on the first lap down in Australia at the beginning of the season. No love lost between those 2 drivers.
Michael Andretti rides in 8th place, the last car on the leader lap. The leaders should be lining up just behind Michael here shortly. Nigel is 7th, then Raul Boisel in 6th. There they are all together as Nigel begins to challenge on Raul, and they move around Mark Smith.
Nigel at last having a really good race this year. He's had a couple of placings. He's well up in the championship, but he hasn't really moved well through the traffic. He is now.
You know, Sam, I think the deal, a lot of it between Nigel and Michael is not bad feelings, except that Nigel is in the position with the same team where Michael used to be with. And I think there's always just a slight amount of jealousy on things like that. But they respect each other, and they both win in the same team. So that shows you it's a team that's really good in a lot of ways.
Well, I agree with you, Bobby. And of course, last year, Nigel was very solicitous of Michael's troubles in Formula One. He did everything he could to help him out with advice.
Now Nigel Mansell lines up on Raul Boisel. Just ahead of them is Jacques Villeneuve.
Look at how much is going on in these cars. I mean, look at the steering here. A few changes to that steering wheel every few seconds. It's tough going, Paul.
You can see Nigel is going clear down almost to the grass. He's using kind of a late apex. Some of the guys that are going slower are using earlier apex.
Michael Andretti has gone a lap down to the leaders, and now the leader, Al Unser Jr., is pulling up behind Nigel Mansell as there goes Fittipaldi around Nigel. And this race is at its 42nd lap and has been green right from the go.
Nigel, of course, won at Milwaukee a year ago, but with the Penske's in prime form and starting from 9th on the grid, a top 6 position was the realistic aim. Constantly, he was anxious to improve, but the traffic was a problem. And with few yellow caution flags, it was likely to remain so. Only one car failed to finish the 200-miler, not the usual rate of attrition at Milwaukee.
Here's the look out of the back of Nigel Mansell's car as you see Gordon dropping back as he passes Brian Herta. Gordon forced to an inside line. Mansell really struggling with the car, but moving up place after place.
The front of the field remains Al Unser Jr., then Fittipaldi, then Paul Tracy. Nigel Mansell, red number 1 right there, rides in 4th place. Gordon in 5th. Michael Andretti in 6th. Here's the running order after 54 laps.
The traffic is so bad sometimes you can watch as the cars go by the front straightaway. The flagman just almost holds the move over flag out constantly. The fast cars are awesome fast. The other guys are getting lapped relatively pretty often.
Remember Mansell's great drive here last year when he won his first oval race. He's having another great drive today. If it weren't for the Penske's, he'd be leading this race. Right now he's first in class.
75 laps into the record book for Al Unser Jr. Green flag the entire way.
You know, it is amazing, Paul, that we haven't seen any sort of a yellow flag. Everything has been flat out since the start, and we're not too far from being halfway there.
Michael Andretti on the pit road now. He's in 5th place as he heads in for his first stop of the day. Four tires on and off.
Now you notice another thing. Some of the cars will have what we call sticker tires on them that have never run before. Some of them will have seated end tires. Now, if you watch with Michael here, you see those white little things going around? Those are stickers, brand new tires.
Looks like they were dialing more wing in to the right front. It's actually a split wing up there, Bobby, and the outside section is what they appeared to adjust.
Yeah, Paul, they really have 4 wings on the front. And what they're doing is he's pushing a little bit. At this time of the race, which is almost halfway, the track is getting slippery, so usually it pushes a little bit.
Nigel Mansell is into the pits as Emerson Fittipaldi runs the fastest lap of the race at 146 miles an hour, Gary.
Nigel Mansell hits the marks. We got a radio report saying that it's loose as a goose. He says he almost lost it on one occasion. So the crew now putting scuff tires on and, of course, servicing with fuel down off the jacks. And Mansell is rolling 13 and a fraction seconds. Excellent stop for the Newman Haas team.
What they mean, Gary, is loose. It means the rear end is loose. The car wants to spin out. The worst thing that a driver could have. And you notice they didn't tighten the front wing or raise them up on that. They absolutely have to tighten the rear end down.
Rumors continue to circulate that this man, Nigel Mansell, on the screen will be going to Formula One. this year to drive races that do not conflict with IndyCar races, possibly or probably for the Williams team. There are only rumors at this point as far as we know, but he's driving a beautiful race here today, certainly.
Nigel's impressive progress was temporarily halted when the yellow came out following Stefan Johansson's engine blowout after 163 laps.
Well, we should be less than a lap to green as they come off of the second turn. There are some scattered reports of light moisture. Everybody's afraid to say rain or showers. Well, it's because it isn't that yet. The drivers will have the best point of view. The onboard cameras, in fact, will show you if they get some moisture on the track itself. And as we come back, we will be completing the 178th lap.
Now you know that Emil's going to have to push really hard now because with the impending possible rain, he's going to have to, if he has a chance of getting little Al, he has to do it just in case it does rain, Paul.
Emerson Fittipaldi chases Al Unser Jr. It is a battle for the lead in the Miller Genuine Draft 200.
Deja vu. It was just like this a week ago at Indianapolis. These are the two men that are really making the season. They stand 1-2 in the championship, and they're 1-2 in this race right now.
Same contestants, different engines. Back to the Elmore D engine for these two cars.
You can watch little Al when he started the race. He ran a groove that would be more or less what he thought was in front of Emil to disturb the air so it'd make it a little bit harder on Emil. Then after he gets a little bit of distance like this, he goes back to what feels good to him or his normal groove.
And they indicate that the yellow flag comes out. There it is, and that is for rain.
The drizzle gradually became heavier and heavier. The cars under yellow going round behind the pace car, the clouds banking up, and little prospect of the weather improving. After 12 laps under yellow, it was decided to call a halt 8 laps early. Al Unser Jr. recording a hat-trick of wins and a Penske 1-2-3, the result for the first time in 15 years. Al Unser Jr. a 25-point lead in the championship. Nigel Mansell 5th at Milwaukee, now 4th but 34 points behind Unser with 11 rounds left. On to Detroit, Michigan, the home of Motown, the centre of the American car industry and surely the most appropriate place in the world to stage a top-class motor race. In this case, round 6 of the IndyCar series. Last year, Nigel Mansell won pole at Detroit but crashed during the race itself. Even so, he's pleased to be back.
Oh, welcome back to a proper racetrack. Let's give the lens a little, there you go, bit of dust on there. It's really a breath of fresh air to be back at a racetrack again, and as you can see, the weather conditions are just superb here in Detroit. They've improved the circuit quite a bit from last year, and I'm very pleased to tell you that the Newman Haas team have done a superb job, and the car's working really well at the moment. So fingers crossed, here goes to the first qualifying, and I'll catch you straight after we finish qualifying.
While Nigel Mansell prepared for his pop at pole position, it was touching time for team boss Carl Haas, the now familiar ritual for the big man from Chicago. Up in the stands, Roseanne Mansell with Chloe, Leo and Greg. Nigel's greatest fans, watching Dad at work. The whole of the team was up for this weekend, determined to make a concentrated effort and provide a real challenge to the Penskes.
Emerson's quick, 71.14, Tracy second, 71.42, and you're third, 71.44. Junior is fourth, 71.54.
Nigel was defending Newman Haas' honour in Motown. Before this weekend, they'd claimed 5 straight poles, unbeaten in qualifying in downtown Detroit. A brilliant record since racing began on the circuit in 1989. Preparations, as usual, completely thorough. Emerson Fittipaldi starred on the first day of qualifying in the Penske. He captured provisional pole position. But on day 2, Nigel Mansell was supreme. He improved his Friday time by almost 2 seconds, the only man to dip below 70 seconds for the 2.1-mile circuit, despite a touch of oversteer that made the car difficult to handle flat out.
And here we are now down the straight. Fastest time, finish line, flying 5th, changing down to 3rd. Hugging the barrier. Very important corner now. Swinging left, accelerating very, very quickly. And now braking, turning down here at 130 miles an hour. And now going into a chicane, right, left and right. Down to 2nd gear. Through the first bit, now turning left. Hugging it, trying to just clip the front there, curb. And now there's a car in front. I've got to squeeze in front now. Very, very tight, accelerate close to the barrier, accelerating to the outside, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th, accelerating down here now, upwards of 190, going into a tight right-hander, changing down to 3rd now, 4th, 3rd, hugging the inside, look how close we are to the wall, now to 2nd, and now around this left-hander, and now into a long sweeping hairpin left. Accelerating between it, 2 apexes, swinging it right, still in 2nd, accelerating out under wheel spin, close to the wall, up to 3rd, and now getting ready for this tight right-hander, down to 2nd, now up to 3rd, between corners, accelerating out of this in 3rd, very quick, very close to the barriers, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and again accelerating up to 190 miles now across the start and finish line, and is it? Yes, it's just a 9.6, which is the best yet.
Real elation in the Newman-Haas camp at Nigel's performance, a confidence boost to the whole team. He captured pole position on the grid for only the 2nd time this season.
ITT Automotive Detroit Grand Prix. And there is the pole sitter. Nigel Mansell has put a Lola on the pole. We'll cover tomorrow live at the Wood Boxes.
Hey, Ken. Well, everybody, that was sweet getting pole position and setting a new track record, and the team needed it, I needed it, and it's all through a lot of hard work and a lot of guessing setup-wise. We changed the setup on the car yesterday, and these cars, you know, they change the handling to the smallest degree, so I'm very, very happy. And now we're set for the race. We're going to hopefully get a good setup on full tanks now in the morning, and we've still got a couple of sets of new tyres left, which is another big thing. Everything at this moment in time anyway is looking better than normal. We'll see you a bit later.
Hey guys,
Were they doing that, Dan, do you know?
Tom Wirtz is the Newman-Haas crew chief, the man whose job it is to oversee the pit activities, with special responsibility for pit stops. A race can be won and lost in the pits. Slick pit work saves precious seconds that could be crucial in the outcome of a race. A botch stop can mean disaster as far as the result's concerned. So Tom Wirtz ensures the Newman-Haas crew are in a permanent state of readiness, practicing their art, changing all 4 wheels and tyres, and the quick routine of the refuelling drill. Now, remember back at the start of the season, Nigel was concerned that Brian Rizzo, affectionately known as Norm after the character from Cheers, wasn't quite Sylph-like.
Hey, we're way in the car. Oh, no, we're not. Yeah. Okay, let's give him 296.
So they made a little wager.
The only thing is, Norman, you're getting smaller now. I can hardly see you.
Have you won your bet? I won my bet. How much you lost?
That's 38 pounds.
38 pounds in how many weeks?
Since the end of February.
Since the end of February. Don't you think that deserves something? Well, we had a bet and you just won another bet. Well, it just so happens, Norman, that we have some money in our pocket. 1, 2, 3, Oops, 4, 5, and 6, some extra, so all the boys can have a drink too, right?
Nigel, here at Detroit, a real driver's circuit. You must be glad to be on a circuit where you can grab a car by the scruff of the neck and just throw it around.
Yeah, I mean, it's very refreshing. I mean, I've been brought up on these type of circuits, and I feel at home because, I mean, you forget that the 3 of the first 5 races we've done have all been on ovals, albeit different ones, and I'm just relieved to be back on a road course again, and I can honestly say I've enjoyed myself today, and we have had a super day.
Is it actually frustrating driving a car around an oval where you've got to drive within such a precise envelope?
Yeah, the thing is, there's only so much you can do, as you know. You can only put input into the car and into the engineers, and you can't hustle the car at all. If you do, then you're going to have a very big accident, and you know, I found that out very quickly at my first oval race back last year. So it's just nice to turn left and right within the same lap, and you know, I'm just thrilled to be on a proper race circuit again.
Now, Penske has won the last 4 races, and certainly in Milwaukee they seem to be in a race of their own. Do you think that was an accurate portrayal of the state of play at the moment?
Yeah, Penske's setting new standards this year. I mean, you know, everything being equal, they shouldn't have really lost the championship last year, and I think, you know, they put even more effort into the winter testing and their programs, and you know what they did with the special engine at Indianapolis, and that definitely won the race for them there. But no, I mean, it's no surprise to me that they're setting the pace this year, and it's up to us to respond. And you know, the Newman Haas team's doing a fabulous job, my mechanics, and you know, I'm just thrilled today that we've managed to hustle the car around and grab pole position.
For the next races until the end of the season, we've got 3 more on ovals and 8 on road courses. How do you see the rest of the season panning out?
I really feel that the next 4 or 5 races are very important. I think that'll set the tone for the rest of the year. And that's why it's refreshing to be on the pace like we were today. I think if we can get a good result here, and then at the next race in Portland, which is a very, very good racetrack, good road to racetrack, we can maybe respond to the Penskes. But then, of course, we've got 3 ovals, and we've got to get some better setups for them.
Race day at Detroit. Nigel Mansell starting from pole, but immediately he was hustled by the Penske trio, Al Unser Jr., Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi. Junior sneaked into first place on lap 2 when the engine of the Newman Haas Lola missed a beat. Then Paul Tracy came by Nigel to take second. Penske's first and second, and the race in a stranglehold. Pit stop for Nigel Mansell, and an illustration here that the unexpected is always just about to happen. Hoping to overtake Fittipaldi by stopping quicker, Nigel was waved out. But Jacques Villeneuve in the Forsyth Green Reynard was on his way in for a pit stop. Almost disaster. A scary moment as a major incident was only narrowly avoided. And if there had been contact between the two, then Emerson Fittipaldi would inevitably have been caught up in the aftermath. Soon afterwards, Al Unser Jr. lost the lead when he was punted off the track by his own teammate Paul Tracy. Tracy insisted he hadn't deliberately hit Unser and apologised afterwards. At the time, Unser was livid. With a damaged front suspension, he could only finish 10th. A similar incident caused Nigel Mansell to be delayed after he'd run into a hard-braking Emerson Fittipaldi. Then it was hopscotch across the tyres.
Now that's hard to do. I couldn't even do that.
That's awesome. He's an athlete and a half.
That's difficult.
So Nigel Mansell climbs out of his car and across the tires.
And this is what happened. Nigel tracking Emerson Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi balked by a slower car. Nigel with nowhere to go. And crunch. A frustrating incident that lost vital time in the chase after the Penskes. With help from the marshals, Nigel returned to the pits for urgent attention. Paul Tracy continued to run hard at the head of the field. But Nigel was out of the race when he retired with a broken throttle.
Nigel, it was a fantastic thing going on with Emerson and what happened?
Yeah, it was great. I think Emerson was forced to brake maybe early going into the corner by the person in front of him, and you know, he caught me by surprise. I didn't expect him to brake that early there, and I was going very quick, closing, and just hit the back end.
What's put you out of the race finally?
I think we've got an engine problem of some kind, but we've had an exciting time today, haven't we? We've you know, been in the thick of it, and then at the end we were, I think, put out by a mechanical failure. Thank you.
A potentially exciting finish ruined. First place went to Paul Tracy, his first IndyCar win of the season, 9.3 seconds ahead of his teammate Emerson Fittipaldi. More celebrations in what's been a vintage season so far for the Penske team. Mansell leads the championship by 13 points. Nigel Mansell, the defending champion, now 5th on 46.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that look back over the last 5 races, and I sincerely hope that we can be more competitive and start charging for the championship again in the remaining races. I really feel now that everyone's found their feet, and we're in now what we call the meat of the season here. We've got a lot of races back to back. We've got 3 triple hitters, whereby one weekend there's a race, the next weekend, and then the next weekend. We didn't usually have that in Formula One, so really now for the next sort of 8-9 weeks we do something like 7 races, and that's impressive, and then we can see where we are.
So it seems Dame Fortune rides with the Penskes. But who dare bet against a Nigel Mansell comeback as we approach mid-season?